everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And y'all, I came in today because in my past videos, I talked about Tim and what he did, this whole plot that he cooked up. I talked about Terica and the guy Wally that was the insurance agent and their contributions to this whole plot. And then we also talked about Miss Robbie and how we all are praying for her. We all empathize with her, and we all know that she has to be balled up in a knot over what her son is accused of. Now, as I always tell y'all, I read the comments, I read all of them, and I, listen to what you say. And if you hear something in the background, my complex has been cutting grass for like the last 2 hours, but nevertheless, I'm glad they do it. It makes our grounds look beautiful, but it seems to occur every time I get ready to do this video. So back to what I was talking about. We empathize with Miss Robbie. But as I was reading your comments, I started thinking about the rest of the family and how they are dealing with what's going on. Once they realized that Tim had been arrested, what went through their heads? So I want to start there. Okay, so first of all, I want to start with Andre's mother. Think about how she feels knowing that she sent Andre to Texas to get a new start and to get away from any issues that he was having there in Texas. She sent him to his grandmother, okay? Thinking that Miss Robbie, with all that Miss Robbie had, could give him a better life, show him a different way, and get Andre on the right track, which is exactly what happened. Andre graduated from school. Miss Robbie was proud. His mother was proud. They were all happy. Then once there, Andre developed relationships with his father's side of the family. They fell in love with him, and he fell in love with them. So they all bonded. So when he was murdered, the rest of that family is suffering too. So I just want to start with and go one by one with what they have to be thinking. I'm going to start with Janae. Janae was with Tim for some time, and she has a child by him. I wonder, when Janae heard what happened, and what Tim was accused of and the fact that he had been arrested, what went through her head as the mother of one of his children? Because we've recently discovered that Tim may have another child. I wonder when Janae, processed all that and she looked over at Timmy, what did she think? Because during that time, her and Tim were on again, off again. And I wonder, does Janae have any memories of things that weren't quite right, or she had a funny feeling about during that time? Because as women, sometimes we may not know what's going on, but we just know something ain't right. So I wonder, like now, when Janae looks back over that period of time, does she remember stuff that maybe at the time didn't make sense to her, but now that all of this has come out, does she have little nuggets that she's playing in her head? Okay. Then when she looks at her son, think about little Timmy. His father has been accused of killing his cousin. As little Timmy grows up, what will they tell him? If Tim is ultimately convicted and he does time, or he gets the death penalty, or whatever happens, what is Janae going to tell him? That puts her in a crazy, crazy position to have to explain what Timmy's father is accused of. I wouldn't want to be in her shoes. Y'all, and then I think about Charles and the close relationship that him and Andre developed when Andre was there. All the fun, the laughter, the silly things that they got into. I remember an episode when Charles was teaching Andre how to drive. and they were in that parking lot, and Andre was deliberately knocking over those cones just to mess with Charles. It was funny. And it reminded me of my son and my two nephews, and when they get together, how they mess with each other and how they just have so much fun doing that. It's like male camaraderie. I wonder when Charles found out what Tim was accused of. I know how, you know, Charles will break down. He has no shame in crying if he's upset. I know that had to rip him to shreds because just like Janae, Charles is going to think back to that time and everything that was going on, and he's probably got little things in his head that at the time bothered him or, made him pause. And now that he knows that Tim is in jail for the murder of Andre, what is going through Charles's head? I feel so sorry for him because a lot of times when you're older, you lived a while and you've, lived after family members have died, you kind of, I'm not going to say get used to it, but because you've been through it time and time again, you know that there's a beginning and an end, meaning there's life and then there's death. But when you're young and someone so close to you, like Andre and Charles was, that those first loss of family members, it really breaks you down when you're younger. I remember I was about 27 when my grandfather died, and he was the first person that was really close to me that I actually witnessed him dying, being told that he had cancer, watching him suffer, and then ultimately being there when he died. It rocked me to my core because I was so young and I had never dealt with a death of someone that was so close to me, someone that I loved so much. So I can only imagine what Charles is going through, the questions that he has in his head, you know, asking himself if this is true. How and why did Tim do something like that? My heart goes out to him too. Then I think about Miss Robbie's sisters and her nieces and everything that are in St. Louis. There were scenes where, they talked about Andre, they laughed about Andre and Charles, and, just being family and aunts to this nephew that came up from Texas and learning to love him and welcome him into the fold there in St. Louis. What did they think when they heard that their sister's son, Tim, was accused of killing their nephew? Because Miss Robbie's sisters would be Andre's aunts. That has to be hard. Think about the position that puts them in. This is their sister's child. They mourn the loss of their nephew only to find out that their sister's child is accused of his death. Does it put some invisible wedge between Miss Robbie and her siblings? Is it awkward? On one hand, they're trying to support their sister and what she's going through, with the realization that her son has been arrested for the death of her grandson. But on the other hand, they have to be standing back saying, oh my God, Robbie's son, Tim, is accused of having Andre killed. There has to be some conversations behind Miss Robbie's back. And I'm not saying negative conversations, but just conversation. Are they looking at Tim saying, this whole situation with Tim saying, because you know how families are, they'll say stuff like, yeah, when he was growing up, I told her that, he was a spoiled brat and the world revolved around him and look what he's done now, Still supporting their sister because you can tell that Miss Robbie and her sisters love the ground that each other walks on. You can just tell that. They are very close. But in a situation like this, where their sister's child is accused of killing their nephew, what conversations are they having behind Miss Robbie's back? And then you know that Miss Robbie has to know that the family is talking. You know, even though they are 100% in support of her, they have to be talking. I know my family, and I know that, they will smile in your face and then walk away and talk about you behind your back. I just know how families work, and all of us, we know that. And they can still love you and support you, but still gossip about the facts of the case. So I know for Robbie's sisters, this puts them in an impossible place. Again, trying to support their sister, but reeling in the fact that Tim is the one that the authorities believe did it. It's got to be terrible. Then, y'all, all of the rest of the family, the ones down in Texas, like I said in the last video, Andre's sister has a Facebook page. And she's been posting stuff on her page, telling us that they knew, that they suspected Tim. Now that everything has come out, that Terica has said her part, and how she said everything went down, y'all, she claims she didn't know nothing about the killing of Andre part. She just thought she was getting them together. But that family down in Texas, think about how they feel. Andre, although he was having problems down in Texas, with fighting and acting up in school, Andre didn't have death threats or feelings that someone may take him out. Because remember, in my last video, I said that Andre told his mother and his sister that if anything ever happened to him, to look at Tim. So think about what that family down in Texas has to be feeling. They have to be saying to themselves, okay, we wanted to get Andre away from whatever it was that he was dealing with there in Texas. So we sent him to St. Louis and everything was going fine. He graduated from school. He got to spend time with his father's side of the family. They embraced him, loved him, supported him, happy for any successes he had. And that's what a baby mom wants. She wants that father's side of the family to love and support her child. And they watched that play out on television. So it wasn't the rest of the family, but it was Tim. That family in Texas has to be sitting thinking, we sent him there and St. Louis is the reason why he's dead. And for that, I know they have to be sick, thinking, I wonder if we would have just kept him here in Texas, would he be alive today? Now, on one episode, Andre talked about, what his life would have been like had he stayed in Texas. It was the episode when he was graduating from high school and Miss Robbie was helping him fix his tie and helping him put on his cap and gown. And he said that he wanted to thank her for allowing him to stay in her house and, helping him graduate and all of that. And he said in that episode, I don't know what my life would have been like had I stayed in Texas. He mentioned something about still getting in trouble and stuff like that. But I'm wondering, would the possibility of death been, there in Texas? I'm not sure. I believe that Andre may have kept up the fighting and all of that and, maybe not graduated school and maybe, got into trouble out in the street and maybe ended up in jail. But he didn't seem like the type that would be involved in anything that would get him killed. Even I remember the episode that I watched when Andre's brother spoke at his memorial service. And the brother said that Andre didn't have a criminal record, that he had never been in that type of trouble. I believe that Andre's trouble probably was more like this, because I had a little brother like this. When they went to school, if people messed with them, Andre was all about kicking ass and taking numbers. You weren't going to mess with him without him fighting back. And I believe that through, fighting in school, that was the type of trouble that he was getting in. Possibly fighting, getting suspended, and the mother having to go up to the school and her just getting tired of dealing with that. I don't believe that it was criminal activity, because we would have heard about it when Andre was appearing on all the episodes that he was in. Andre himself even said that it was mostly fighting. So my question again is, how does that family in Texas feel knowing that them sending him to St. Louis is what ultimately took him away from this world? And the sad part about it is, it wasn't St. Louis per se. It was Tim. The very family that Andre's mother sent him to love on him and get him on the right track, one of those family members set Andre up to have him killed. So I know that they have to be sitting somewhere saying, oh my God, we should have just kept him here. We should have just kept him here. And then Andre had a son. What will they tell Andre's son? As Andre's son grows up and he starts to ask questions about his dad. Where is he? What happened to him? Explain it to me. I would not want to be the person that had to sit that child down and explain this situation to that child. How do you make it make sense, to someone who's asking about their dad? What do you tell them about Tim? What do you tell them? Also, y'all, I wanted to touch on a little bit about, once Tim, is arraigned and he has his chance to tell his side of the story, to plead, and from what I'm hearing, he's going to plead not guilty. Then it goes to trial. What are we going to find out? Y'all, every time I try to get away from this story and move on to something else, like I said in my last video, something about Andre touches me. You remember how you felt when Trayvon Martin was killed and the facts of the case started to come out, and you almost felt hopeless for him? You thought about him walking to the store, getting his little snacks, and then coming back to that complex and being followed by that animal that ultimately ended up killing him. And what was going through Trayvon Martin's head when George Zimmerman, accosted him. And we all know that when we listened to that video, there was someone yelling on the video, help, help, help. Now, George Zimmerman claims that was him, but I believe, like Trayvon Martin's mother believes, that was Trayvon yelling for help. So when I sat there and I was listening to the facts of that case, I was so sick for that young man, 17 years old. I was so sick for what was going through his head at that time. Why is this man following me? What have I done to him? Oh my God, he has a gun. Oh my God, he shot me. So when I think of Andre, and I think about Andre getting out that car with that girl, Andre had no idea what was going on. He thought he was going out to meet this chick, and she had bought him some pants, and, he sat in the car with her, chit-chatting, probably was grinning. You know how young men are. This girl is paying him some attention. Then he gets out the car, goes to walk away, and a bullet hits him. What went through his mind when that bullet struck him? My question in the last video was Tim there? Did he see Tim if he was there? Also, Tim spoke about his boys weren't ready to roll, you know, but on this second attempt, the night that Andre was actually killed, I guess they were. I was wondering, because Andre had been up there a while and had been around Tim and probably some of Tim's friends, did Andre see the people that shot him? Did he know them? Had he ever met them before? You know, through hanging out with his uncle and being around his uncle, had he met some of these guys? And if so, when those bullets hit him and he was spun around, did he see the people that shot him? And after he was shot and he fell on the ground and he was laying there in his last moments of life, did he comprehend, oh my God, those are Tim's friends that shot me. Oh my God, why are they shooting me? Did my uncle have something to do with it? What really bothers me about that, and like I said, it gives me that same feeling that I got when I, heard all the evidence in the Trayvon Martin's case, is I felt so sorry for Andre. Worried that he may have seen who shot him and then lay there dying, wondering why his uncle did this to him. Y'all, that breaks my heart, thinking about that boy maybe recognizing who shot him. All of these things, they make me worry for the case. They make me worry for the family in Texas and the family in St. Louis, because when this trial goes off, y'all, there's going to be some raw emotions in that courtroom. The family in Texas has got to feel some type of way with the family in St. Louis because, Andre died there. I hope that they can see beyond Tim, that it wasn't the family that brought Andre down. It was Tim. That Miss Robbie didn't have, harbor any ill feeling. She actually was able to get her grandson up there, get a chance to love on him, get to know him, up front and personal. And it wasn't them. It was Tim. I hope that they can separate that, and that they don't all meet up in that courtroom and fingers get pointed and then it tears that family apart, because one wrong word and even the family dynamic between St. Louis and Texas could go wrong. That worries me for them. And then finally, I want to say this. I want some type of way for the two sides of the family to meet in that courtroom, be able to support each other, support Andre's mother, support Miss Robbie, and be one. Now, one against what? One against Miss Robbie's child. You see what I mean? That's gonna be something, y'all. How do you sit in the courtroom looking at the back of Tim's head and not want to jump up and run up there and try to kill him with Miss Robbie sitting in the courtroom? It's going to be tense, y'all. I wouldn't want to be anywhere in that courtroom. This is one time that, how we'll say we would wish we could be a fly on the wall. In this situation, y'all, I wouldn't want to be there, because it's going to be too much stress, too much tension, too many raw emotions. And like I said, I believe one wrong word and things could go left between those two families. The mother side of the family and the father side of the family. And finally, y'all, I'm just going to say this. I wish them all the peace that could be found. I hope God is visiting, sending an angel to each one of those family members' houses and wrapping their wings around that person. Be it Janae, because I know she has to be feeling some kind of way, Miss Robbie, Charles, the sisters, the aunts in St. Louis, and then fly down to Texas and wrap Andre's mother up, his cousins, aunts, and uncles down there, his sisters, his siblings. I just hope that there's some comfort, waves of comfort that are hitting that family, trying to hold it together, because y'all, this has the potential to be really bad. And with that, y'all, this is the end of the video. I just wanted to come in and talk about the family, since I had already hit upon Tim and his shit, Terica and the insurance person, that insurance guy. I just wanted to, take a moment and acknowledge the individual family members, and what they could potentially be going through right now. Oh, y'all, this is bad. This is so bad. When you really allow yourself to think about this and how bad that courtroom atmosphere is going to be, oh, God, it's going to be bad. And before I get out of here, I want to put it out there again. I asked for people who would be interested in doing a live, YouTube video with me concerning this whole mess. All we're doing is we're sitting and talking. We're knocking about ideas and what we think is going to happen, what we think has happened, just that. Again, I mentioned that whoever, decides to join me, we will not be on camera. I already have one person that expressed an interest, and I haven't forgotten your name. I did take note of it. You will be co-host number 1. And I'm looking forward to possibly one, possibly 2 more. But 1 would be fine. It would be the 3 of us, and then we would just talk. You guys could pick the area that we focus on, or we could just talk about all of it. But with that, y'all, again, this is the end of the video. You guys take care. Stay safe as always. Thank you for watching my video.